Everyone's back.
Yes.
Like in the driver's seat.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
We're
Great.
Ready
Great.
to go?
Not as well as Wendy.
This is actually very sad, and unfortunately there's some haters out there. We'll get to that in a minute, but very sad. The talk show host, I'm not super familiar with her, but she's had a talk show. She's had some health issues the last couple of years, and then recently it came out, I guess she took a leave of absence from her show, and then it came out that she has aphasia and frontal temporal dementia. Which
is terrible.
These are
awful.
nasty
Yeah.
things, right? So aphasia we know is Bruce Willis, the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's basically like where you basically lose the ability to comprehend communication. So people would be talking, I'm assuming this, it's like people are talking and it's just gibberish to you. You have no idea what it is. And then the frontal temporal dementia is just some kind of cocktail of different, things going on in your brain, but they basically like change your personality. I mean, you become almost like a different person.
I think it's being able to receive communications and communicate, and I think it's in the area where the communication, the brain processes what you're saying versus what comes out.
Yeah.
And that's where the stuttering and like Bruce Willis was happening, and it's a slow. From my understanding, it's a slow deterioration. It's very sad, and it's very frustrating for the person who's going through it, because it's almost like an out-of-body experience. They know what they want to say, but it's not coming out. Yeah. And to add insult to injury, which I think one of the things that happen, even people misinterpret what's happening to them. So they think you could be on drugs, or you're drunk, or something's, you're in some kind of substance. And I think there was something in the article about her going to the bank, and the bank basically was going to say she's not competent. And they were, I guess, refusing to deal with her, and they wanted some kind of either power of attorney or something over, where difficulty that she was having is expressing herself, and they thought she was on drugs or something like that. So it becomes very embarrassing, humiliating, and my goodness, I mean, if anyone cared for an old grandparent or a parent who had some dementia. I remember my grandma, towards the end, she was having dementia, and I remember I came to visit her, and I was with my uncle, and when I was little, we used to live with her, and she kept calling him my uncle, but I could see in her eyes that she knew who I was, because she was so happy to see me, and he was right next to me, and she said the regular hi to him, because she saw him every day, but to me she was excited, but she couldn't, so I can't imagine how frustrating it could be, I mean,
it's sad for somebody whose job is to talk and communicate with others. It's unfortunate. You raised the bank thing, and this is kind of interesting, because I heard that beyond, you touched on, you could sound like you're drunk or you're in drugs, because there's stuttering, there's slurring, there's these sorts of...
Well, that's how people would interpret it.
Right, physical manifestations of this disease. But I also, heard that there was some, potential concern over like financial, improprieties, like people attempting to take advantage of her. And the bank, I think it was her like personal bank, Wells Fargo, actually like took some proactive steps with the court to get a guardianship appointed to have control over her finances.
And I think that's interesting, and it's great for her and her family that there was somebody stepped in and actually was asking for a conservatorship in this place, and to be put into this particular situation. I think one of the largest group of victims out there is usually elders who, as they get older, as they start to develop different, whether it's Alzheimer's, dementia, or anything like that, that they are being taken advantage of, whether they can be taken advantage by anybody, by family, by just people, neighbors, anybody who sees that there is a deterioration in their mental state.
Well, one of her sons is even calling into question some issues with the guardianship now.
Yes.
Right? And I don't know if it's with because it's not I don't think it's her. It's not
with
any
the bank.
Is it the bank? Because it's not any of their children
the
that are the guardians.
No.
It's like a third party, whether it be like a business manager or somebody like that. But one of the sons has been vocal recently.
How does a bank initiate that kind of process where you have family?
Well,
Does that make sense?
I'm not sure.
They're her bank, they're not
but
her.
But it could be that they might have notified someone, because usually what I'm assuming that since she was such a public figure and she's entertainment business, she probably had a business manager or the bank or agency that was representing her, and that bank was also potentially was a business, had her business accounts in. And you know, on the one hand, you know, the fact that they, you know, someone notified someone close to her that, hey, this is an issue, something's going on over here, and somebody took action, might have actually saved her estate or her family.
But just imagine how infuriating it is for her. She does not have these type of cognitive issues. It was their perception. Her executive functioning is still there. It wasn't that she didn't understand what's happening. Usually people, who have conservatorship over them are people from a cognitive perspective who don't really know what's going on with them. In other words, they don't have the mental capacity to make a decision because they have no comprehension of the meaning of their decision. So in essence, they're like children. They're incapable of making their own decisions. That's not the state with her, at least not at this point. She has difficulty verbalizing what she's saying. So she appears like she's on something.
Yeah, but I think it was more than that, because first off, the court appointed a guardianship. So obviously there was enough to merit something like this, that she's not fully in control of whatever she needs to do. But I think it's beyond this, because banks, they obviously monitor accounts, they monitor for fraud activity. Mm-hmm. So something else beyond her physical appearance must have been going on, you know, large, you know, withdrawals or weird withdrawals, or other people coming into the banks with her. That there's this claim by her ex-husband, who I guess used to be like her business manager or something of this nature. He's no longer in this position. They're not married anymore. But, you know, he's all of a sudden claiming like many years of back spousal support, right? But it's sort of like in and around the same time that she's having these questions about her, you know, her mental state and her mental capacity, suddenly he's like,
no self-interest whatsoever, right?
It's terrible, right? Like everybody's taking advantage of this woman.
That's terrible.
And so like, it's probably better that this is going on right now. Going even further in this story, which is sad, now there's this karma, you know, aspect of the story, which is this is terrible. But apparently, again, I'm not as familiar with her show, but apparently on her show, throughout the years, she did not have a problem speaking her mind on other people's lifestyle choices and decisions, and even her opinions on whether she thought people deserved certain you know, misfortunes that came their way. And so she kind of made part of her career on this, I guess. You know, it made her a little edgy. Maybe it was, you know, must-watch TV, whatever it was.
Entertainment. It's entertainment.
It's entertainment. Whatever. Freedom of speech. Obviously, people like this. She was on TV for a long time, but now the haters out there are saying, "Oh, karma, right? You spent all these years saying maybe not the nicest things about other people, and you know, here it comes back around to you, and now you're having some." So
leave it to social media to adjudicate whether something is fair or not.
Always, right?
But also, someone has to be the conservator,
right?
And then there's always a big fight. Who's the one who's competent, who's qualified, who's the right person to be the conservator? And the conservator has a lot of power, or power on how the funds are spent, who's entitled to them, what she can spend, what she can do. And, you know, a lot of times there's a big fight between family members. Who's the person who could be trusted to be the conservator and not to take advantage?
I mean, that was the whole Britney Spears, right? I mean, that whole situation where for years there was a fight between her family, herself, the professional trustees that were being appointed, because once you get a gig like that, right, as a professional trustee,
easy street,
right? I mean, that's like the dream, right? The dream job, I guess, as a professional trustee is to be in charge of that kind of an estate.
I mean, it's usually supposed to be someone who shouldn't have some sort of competing interest or conflicted interest. You know?
Correct.
So she's working on a Lifetime documentary right now, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So you think it'd be very interesting to see from her viewpoint. A lot of things that someone said, who they saw, what she's, you know. I think it'd be interesting to hear about her life from her at this stage, and judge for yourself how functional really is she? And again, I mean, so you can't speak it, you can write it. Who knows? Now you have Tesla computer brain chip. Maybe they can invent something. They can be. I mean, they have cochlear implants for hearing. Who says that they cannot have some kind of implant that will help stimulate some of that area?
Left brain.
Right.
Yeah, they're
support that gets
responsible
put
for
in.
the speech.
One day, right? One
Yeah.
day. But I'm interested to see the documentary. Let's see. We'll watch it, and maybe we'll have a part 2. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys.
All right.
This was good.
All right.
Who's ready for baseball?
Baseball.
I'm ready for baseball.
Baseball.
I love
I'm ready for the Dodger, Doc.
baseball. Yeah.